Hi, and welcome to the Selling in the Motor Trade podcast in association with CarWow, the online car-changing destination. Together, we share tips and ideas on how to sell more cars, improve your service department, and generally put more profit into your department, dealership, or dealer group. I'm your host, Simon Bowkett, or some of you might already know me as Skippy. Firstly, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast. Wendy, can I go back? Where does that driven, you said early on, you're very, very driven. Does that come from watching your parents run their own business and it was inbuilt for you? Was it nature or nurture is what I'm driving at? And I ask that question because so many times I struggle with this. I want people working for me to be as driven as I am. And that frustration you talked about. So where did it come from in you? Now, I know you said that was maybe too much, but clearly that driven nature is where you've got to where you are now. Is it nature or is it nurture, I suppose, is the question I'm asking there.
Oh, well,
Can we put it into other people, that driven?
Yeah, that's the key question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it nature or nurture? The jury's out. I think the answer is both. So can we encourage it in others? Yes. Can we, inject it into them? No. And also you just said, I want everyone in my business to be as driven as me. Is that true?
Sometimes I wish that they were, yes.
Well, what do you think the drive would get you? Where I'm going with this, Simon, is I'm prompting you to just pause that thought. Because if that's what you're aiming for, you'll end up in a very narrow corridor where it's like, what can I do to make them be more driven? What can I do to make them be more driven? I'd kind of jump past that and say, why? What are we trying to achieve at the end? And are there other routes to there?
Well, take it back to our audience. I can remember starting as a sales manager, not knowing what I'm doing. And okay, when you know the motor trade, okay, top salesperson gets thrown into the chair. I'm thinking, goodness me, what do I do now? Okay. And that driven that we're talking about, I don't know if that's the right word, but it's like, why aren't my other salespeople seeing the customer on the forecourt when people used to walk in before they emailed and phoned first? Okay, when the phone was ringing, why are my other salespeople not racing the phone and picking it up? Because I knew that I was a top salesperson because I was hungry. Why are they not as hungry as I was? So in that scenario, and again, people listen to this might think, well, yeah, I do want them to be as driven because that's what's going to put the money in the till.
Well, look, there you go. There was a question embedded in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'd go with that one, which is why, you said, why are they not running to answer that telephone or something along those lines?
Yes, yeah.
Great question. So I'd say to them, when the phone rings, why aren't you running to answer it? Oh, and then they'd give me loads of defensive reasoning because they'd feel under attack.
Yep.
They'd feel like there's an implied criticism, like they should have done something. So we have to work through that because there will be a reason why they're not running to pick up the phone. What is that reason? And we've got to get to there because otherwise you end up with like the carrot or the stick, and that's a limiting arrangement.
I want to just expand this. So many times I'll get managers, I don't believe this, so I'm playing devil's advocate. They say, well, they're just lazy, aren't they? And I go, no, people don't sign up to work in the motor trade, work in the hours we do, if they're naturally lazy. They're not racing to that phone because they're lazy. I think they're not racing the phone because they're either worried they take another inquiry and they get beat up because they haven't made an appointment or sold them a car, or there's something else there why they're not doing it. It's not that laziness there. And it's not that. You have to dig even deeper, don't you, Wendy?
Well, if you've recruited some lazy people, why did you do that?
Yeah.
And so I would take a little bit of I would take a massive look in the mirror. If that manager that's saying they're lazy, I'd say, look in the mirror. What is it you're doing to create conditions in which they are behaving in that way? Yeah, I'm going to rip the lazy label off. They are behaving in a certain way. They're choosing what they do and don't do. you don't like maybe all their choices. You'd like them to choose to do different things, race to the phone, right? So what is it you need to do to create the conditions in which they will do that? Rather than pointing at them, maybe take a look at this. It'll be very uncomfortable, I'm sure, but maybe look in the mirror and think, what is it I'm doing that's making this environment in which people don't want to run to the phone, people don't want to walk out to the forecourt, people don't want to, etc., etc. What and have a big old think about, and how do I change the dynamic? How can I, rather than how can they change,
Yeah.
how can I change?
Yeah. It's so much easier to change what we're doing than someone else, isn't it? It
Well,
is.
yeah, if it's not working, change it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
that great quote, you know, the version of insanity is doing the
Yes.
same thing and expecting a different outcome. And
Yeah.
and if you as a manager could create a better condition, you might not just shift one person's behavior, you might shift lots of people's behavior.
Yeah.
And definitely ask the question. You
Mm.
know, if there's anything that you want to work on, start by sitting down and having an honest conversation. A lot of the conversations I hear with managers in the motor industry, I would say particularly, are 80 to 90% the manager talking, and maybe 10 to 20% the person, the
If we're
employee
lucky,
talking.
if we're lucky, it could be less than that. Yes.
Well, yeah, so I would say to those managers, what is it you're expecting to learn? If you want to find out why they're not rushing to the phone, don't spend 80% of the time telling them why you think it is. Perhaps listen a bit more.
It isn't again starting with why, and this doesn't want to sound like worshipping Simon Bowkett again. But hey, Wendy, what's your why? What's your personal mission that fuels your work?
Um, it's I guess I'm more interested in people than I am in money. So
Mm,
I'm I'm professionally nosy. I love understanding what's going on with people and why they do the things they do. And I think my purpose is to try to help as many people as I can be a better version of them if they want to. It's not my choice. I've tried to get away from, I used to look at people and think, right, that's your potential and I'm going to get you to there.
mm,
And I feel like there's kind of an arrogance in that. I'm not against identifying talent and helping
mm.
the person see the talent, but I think my purpose is helping people take the steps they want to take and get to where they want to get to. And when they do, I'm so excited and proud and delighted.
That's why I love this podcast, my little passion project that started in the first lockdown. Because the people who want to get on, they're the people that take the time to download this. And I know someone's driving along at the moment saying, I like that. I'll reach out to Wendy and see what else I can do there. And that's where that's what drives me on this one there. Starting a podcast, it makes no sense otherwise there, but it's that, I love that when people just turn around and say, I've tried this, I've listened to that, and that's really helped. And I love that you said it's the people who want to improve because it's the horse of water again, isn't it?
Mm.
It's not for everyone, and that's no bad thing, no bad thing at all. If people don't want to do that, they're happy where they are. Great. Why try and make them be something they don't want to be?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess I'd start by trying to find out what they do want to be.
yeah.
What is it? What is it that they imagine? And they might need a bit of time to work that out. So it might need more than one question to find that out.
Now,
But if you can, like find the flame and then fan that flame. That's where it's at.
having said that, I can hear people screaming and saying, "Yeah, I know, but how do I get people to do what they have to do? Okay, when they don't want to do it. Okay, if they just wanted to do it all the time, we wouldn't have to pay them." I suppose what I'm driving at is how do we make people accountable for their performances? Do you have any ideas on what a new manager should do on a day-to-day basis, to hold people accountable?
Engage them in the agreement in the first place. So when you're setting some objectives for somebody, engage them in that process so that you and they have both agreed this thing. It's not you've said you must do this thing. So if I said, okay, so Simon, I want you to do some cold calling for me today.
Mhm.
Um, I wonder how many of those calls, here's the database. I wonder how many of those calls you can get done today. And you say 10, and I'm thinking 150. And I kind of go, okay. All right. Well, look, I reckon you can maybe do more than 10. How many would you be proud to do? And you say, well, I'll be really proud to do 20. And I go, okay, I'll take 20. I'll take 20 today, right?
Mm.
So now you and I have got a clear agreement that 20 calls will be done. Great, tick, stop. No, don't stop. When are those 20 calls going to be done? And by the way, do I need any kind of checking mechanism along the day? Like I might say to you, Simon, help me know how you're getting on. When do you think you can swing by my desk and or catch me and tell me how you're doing? I'll catch you at lunchtime, Wendy. Okay, cool. So like at lunchtime, give me a bit of a status update. Because then that's not me wandering up and going, Simon, how many calls have you done? Yeah. I'm engaging them in an agreement that they then, I hope, will honour. And if they don't, then we've got a clear conversation to go back to and say, hey, Simon, so I noticed, so yesterday, how many calls did you do? And you'll say, oh, Wendy, I only did 5. And I say, okay, well, yesterday, how many did you say you were going to do? Well, I think I said I was going to do 10. Okay. So what happened there? Now let's understand what got in the way. Yeah. So engage them in the agreement and then hold them to the agreement you have made. I think often I hear quite loose agreements that you then can't hold anyone accountable to. And also, by the way, sometimes people will agree to stuff that they don't know how to do, right? So somebody asked me to do a thing and I go, yeah, I'll definitely do it. I'll definitely do it by the end of the month.
Because they want to please their manager, right?
Yeah, they want to please their manager, or they just want to get out of this conversation that's horrible. And they just want, I'll say yes to anything at this stage, just stop talking to me. And so they then go away and think, oh, I don't really know how to do it. And then they push it to the edge of their desk, metaphorically, and it doesn't get done and it doesn't get done. So one of the things you can really help people with is say to them, okay, so Simon, you say you'd be really proud if you made 15 calls. How are you going to make that happen? Wow, I'll do 1 an hour. Brilliant. How many does that make? Oh, that makes 7. Yeah. So in other words, help them to rehearse their own method, their own how. Because you can then help them if they get stuck. If they say, oh, yeah, that doesn't work. I don't know how to get to 50. Well, okay, well, now let's have a conversation at that. Now we've got this opportunity that in this day you will achieve a thing that you have agreed you will achieve, rather than we went through the whole day, you didn't achieve it, and now we're in this horrible situation where I have to hold you accountable for that. Much better that I invested that bit of time early on, making sure that you had every opportunity to do it. And perhaps check in along the way. Sorry.
No, don't apologize at all. I'm just thinking here. I love the idea of that for, I don't know, maybe I've got this wrong, senior leaders and people that have to be self-starters in a sales service advisor. But I'm taking it back to someone working in McDonald's. Isn't there a place where in McDonald's they have to just say, this is what you're going to do. You will flip the burger at 8 minutes. You will actually make 10 of these every hour or whatever. You will do this. I suppose with that one there, it is just a do. So I'm driving at, is this different positions? You have to manage people in a completely different way. To that 16-year-old kid who's just started, I don't know if you could ask them, what do you think? How many burgers do you think you could do today? Surely there must be a situation where it's like, no, we need to get that done.
Yeah, there is. And that's a pretty short-lived piece. So let's be clear, 2 things here. If there's process we have to follow it. So if the burger has to be flipped at 8 minutes, it has to be flipped at 8 minutes, not 7, not right. So there will be non-negotiable pieces of process. We have to lock those in. I would argue lock those in during induction. So I think a lot of induction is undercooked, to follow the metaphor, right? So and we pay the price afterwards. So we don't invest enough time in good induction, and then we end up with people that are underdeveloped and then we pay the price of that, and we get frustrated as we try to manage it. Yeah. The other thing is, yeah, they might not know initially, so we might give them a guide. I might say, Simon, I'm going to guess that you could do 20 of these calls today. I want you to do the first couple and then come see me, tell me how it went, tell me how you're feeling, tell me what you're thinking. Yeah, so now there's a kind of relationship going on here, rather than there's your phone, there's your laptop, good luck.
Yeah.
Which I think often still is a bit the case.
No, it's so often it's the case. I'm just thinking with the analogy of McDonald's, I'm thinking of in maybe a valet department, it will be, this is how you apply the paint protection. This is how you do this. There has to be the bare minimums, okay, to do it. But then you don't want to stifle that person just to be robotic. You want to think, okay, then I want you to come to him and say, what's a better way we can do it? How can we improve it? Because that's where you're going to get the growth in the business.
Absolutely. And also, with process type stuff like that, it can get boring. So I think as a manager, creating the conditions is also about not just leaving them like, oh, good, I've got you up to like 100 calls a day. That's great. I'll just leave you now. Well, that will go badly soon. So it's how you create interest, I think that's probably getting people to perform is a challenge, but I feel like sustaining performance is actually potentially a bigger quest.
So true. But that's motivation though, isn't it? Is it self-motivation? Do we have to motivate ourselves? I think that you and myself, I think we've probably here today for self-motivation. Okay. Does motivation come from within? Okay. Or can we help to motivate that person? Or is motivation just management?
Well, there are lots of different factors to motivation. And the one, of course, that people default to, I would argue, particularly in the sales arena, is money. So can I motivate people with money? Well, you will all prove to me, everybody listening is shouting out yes. Well,
I gotta say no.
Oh,
Sorry,
God.
but I gotta jump in there because we say on a training course, Billy, are you motivated by money? Everyone says yes, of course I am. I say, great. If I said, here, I'm going to give you £2,000, would you feel good? Love it. Okay, great. All right. Then I'm going to turn around and say to Jenny, I really appreciate you being here today. Because of that, I'm going to give you £4,000. Okay. Now I'll go back to Billy and say, hey, Billy, you know that 2,000 I gave you? Is that now a motivator or a demotivator? It's not the money that motivated or demotivated. It's like, why is she worth double what I am? I jump up and down to that. Money can be a motivator, but it's not the best, is it, Wendy?
Well, it can be enormously divisive, as you're
Yeah.
explaining, and yes, it can be a demotivator. It can also drive unhelpful behaviours. So if I say, right, we're in a competitive environment, the sales arena is a competitive
Yep.
environment. Yeah, let's make the most money, and I'm going to put it up on a whiteboard on the wall so we can see how we're doing. Yeah. I'm
Yep.
going to encourage competitive behaviour. Now, competitive behaviour is individualistic. Yeah, I want to be the best, and yeah, so is it going to encourage the kind of teamwork that I would wish for? Probably not. You might get some teamwork, and if you do, you're really lucky. But if you're not seeing the teamwork, that might be why. But anyway, going back to money, I think that money is a medium. It's a mediator rather. So what does Billy or Jenny or anyone else want the money for? So what's the 2 grand
Mhm.
or the 4 grand for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why again? We're back to why, aren't we?
Is it I want to treat my kids to a holiday? Is it that I want to put a Rolex on my own wrist? It's like there's no wrong answers, but if we can get to that, then that is about provision for family, and that's about status. So they're two different motivators. So now we've understood something. We can use that further. But yeah, look, there's loads of different motivators, growth,
But but also that money
feeling
becomes
valued.
that any privilege becomes a right. And I remember this is back in 2000. And you'll laugh at me now, Wendy, but I'm a brand new sales training consultant. Started Simco Training in 2000. I was working with a man called Steve Leet in a Peugeot dealership down in Kent. And he said, Simon, it's all about our PCP sales this month. Can you train the guys how to do it? I said, yeah, of course we can. That's what we're going to focus on. But it's all about motivation. Steve, what are you paying the guys on every PCP they're doing? And we had a look at it, and there was, he said, there's a big target we have to get to, which is a month 13 bonus. What that meant by if they got to that target, they got a retrospective bonus on every single case they did for the year. I don't know the figure now, Wendy, but it was worth something like 70,000 to him. I said, right, I'll train the guys. How much are getting paid each one? And back in 2000, we agreed to pay the salespeople something like 150. It could have been 200 for every PCP case they did between now and the end of the month. I can't remember the numbers, okay? And Steve will be listen to this and say, no, it wasn't that much, Simon. But guess what? He got there. He phoned me up and said, Simon, that was absolutely brilliant. I've told everyone we're the top dealer in the Robinson Day network for profit this year. Thank you so much. I'm patting myself on the back. But of course, Wendy, any privilege becomes a right. What happened to sell the PCPs in January? Just stopped, absolutely stopped there. Because if they were worth that amount of money at the last in December, why are we not worth that now? And that's the other concern I have with managers who just say money, money, money as the motivator. It is actually, it's not just that. People who run that marathon, people who play golf. I'm not a golfer, but are you a golfer, Wendy?
No, I'm not.
So many times
I did run, but not
you did
marathons.
run, but so many times people are competing against themselves, I think. And so many times I get salespeople, they'll beg you for that deal to chalk the board, just say, I've done one. I'd love to expand on that and tell you, am I on the right path there? Are people, what else motivates people other than just money? Isn't it pride and work? Isn't it?
Well, yeah. So things that motivate people are related to their sense of belonging,
Mm.
belonging to the organization. So do they feel proud about that? Is that motivating them to come and do a really great job and go a step above? They're motivated by their own development and growth. So rather than giving the money to them, are you spending the money on them, developing them to be better at what they do so that they can make progress? And people are motivated by progress. So if somebody's ambitious, am I helping them to see how they can build a career path? Yeah. And people are motivated by recognition. So, we talked about feedback. Am I really, like, a challenge to anyone out there, really? Do you feel like you're an absolute master at really effective precision feedback? Because that can be such a motivator.
Mm.
And that doesn't actually cost any money.
Yeah.
Money, yes, the package that people get definitely relates to motivation,
Yeah.
but there are so many other things as well. And often I feel like we kind of lazily walk past those options, frankly, because they're trickier to do than money. Money is a lazy fix.
Yeah. And money, of course, it can be a motivator. I think we both agree that, but it's not the only one. And
Yeah.
it's the lazy fix sums it up perfect, doesn't it?
I get past the cash prize and start to think. So you said in amongst it there, you said the person that wants to walk up to the board and put their name up there. I started out, my first job was in the media, in newspapers.
Mm.
And in the sales office there, back in the day, really back in, I'm not going to say the year, Simon, but really back in the day, as soon as somebody made a sale, if it was above a certain figure, there was a bell.
Yeah.
You
We
walked
call that
across
the
the office.
Pendle bell in the motor
Yep,
trade.
there you go. Okay,
Yeah.
so you rang the bell, and
Yep.
people love ringing the bell. Like, nothing fell out of the bell, no cash fell out of the bell, but
Yep.
people just loved it because that's about pride.
Yeah.
That's about recognition. Yeah. So we can build this stuff in. We just have to, think carefully about how to do it.
You said something before as well as that competitiveness. In a sales environment, there is competition. The OEMs, the manufacturers, they put in that competitive environment because I suppose humans, we like to compete. Do you recommend, should you have a sales department where you have individuals competing, or is it a whole sales department paid exactly the same way? Surely that would almost break down that competitiveness, that hungriness. What are your views on that?
I don't think there's one single answer on that.
Mhm.
I don't. I would look at the department, what it's trying to achieve, and try to work out what the right mix of motivators are to achieve that thing. And be careful that in achieving one thing, we don't lose another. So
Mm.
again, in hitting the overall revenue or profit target, well, often it is about revenue. So in hitting the revenue target, we're not destroying the profit target. Are we getting people to think in the right way? Are we getting people to think like business people?
Mm.
Because of course profit is more important, I would argue, right? We need the revenue, but the profit is the thing that we really want. But
Mm.
often we point people at the wrong stuff, I think, and then we reward them for running fast at it. So I don't think I've given you a tidy, clean answer to that one because I think it's just too complicated to answer.
I suppose sometimes in a sales environment, I worry about everyone's paid the same amount. And it's like, well, if I don't follow this customer up, John will. And it's almost like we're all equal environment. I suppose that sales environment has always been and probably still will be that competitiveness there because it drives on the growth there. It's something that it's that could be a whole podcast in itself, really, couldn't it? On how should it be done? Yeah.
Maybe you want a sports psychologist on here
Yes.
because they know all about the competition.
Exactly. I was thinking about that. It's going back into the school and schooling in my days when I grew up. There was a winner, and second was the first of the losers. And sometimes I hear about we're all winners now. Is that the right approach there? But I suppose it's that is a bigger debate about how we're, I suppose, managing people who have come up in a different environment that maybe we did.
Well, yeah, and again, it comes back to this thing of creating the conditions. You've
Mm,
recruited the team you've recruited, or you've inherited the team you've got.
mm,
L Really take a good look at them and think, what is it I have to do to bring out the best in you? And look at each one of them and ask yourself that question. And then look at all of them together and think, and now I've considered each one of you in turn, what do I need to do to bring out the best in you as a group, as a team? And by the way, do I want you to behave as a team?
yeah.
That's not a hollow question because
Mm,
you might not,
yeah.
right? You might not want a team. You might want individuals all running hungrily and fast. Um, Fair enough. Just know what you want and then design things for what you want.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So someone listening to this that's taken on their very first management position, what advice would you give them? Where would they start? It's a big question.
Oh, it is a big question,
Yeah.
isn't it? Where would they start? I'm going to go back to that idea of reflection. So start with some good habits. Start with reflecting every day at least once so that you make sure that you're learning from your own experience. You're learning your own good practice. So that would be my first habit to embed. The
Mm,
next thing is get help. So make sure that you know what your development areas are, and then make sure that you've got a plan to fill them. And
mm,
that will include getting some help. So it might be that a mentor would be really useful to you.
mhm,
So if you don't have one, get one.
mm,
Yeah. So a mentor is somebody that has done the job that you're now doing and has some wisdom to share with you.
mm.
But they should also ask some great questions. Yeah. Um, I I also think try really hard to learn good practice. So I'll use the analogy of learning to drive.
Mm.
We all learn to drive and do it kind of properly, and then we get bad habits.
Yeah.
I think the same thing applies. So try to learn some really good practice. So for example, delegating, delegating work. Try to learn how to do that really well rather than just making it up.
Mhm.
Um, because as soon as you get into a cycle of having it gone badly, you and the other person are locked in that disappointment. So try really hard to get the fundamentals of how you manage other people under your belt, and that probably does mean some training. So, do you know what? Maybe don't take that job unless you know that you will be supported to be able to do it well. And that might include some training, a mentor, and you building up some good habits along the way. And by the way, the other thing I'd say is believe you can. Believe you can. So at some point I get to talk to people about belief. It normally comes up at some point in one-to-one coaching. What do you believe for yourself? You have to believe that you can do this thing. And in the moments where you start to doubt, you have to maybe believe even harder. Yeah.
That self-belief is so important, isn't it there? And it's not fake it till you make it. I understand why some people will say that. Take the job. I mean, Richard Branson says, take the job and work out how to do it afterwards. I get that. And I suppose lots of managers listening to this may say, well, that's exactly what I did. I know I did that, Wendy. But it's you don't know what you don't know until you start, do you?
Well, yeah, it's a different job. Being a manager, so if I've been an excellent sales exec, being a manager of those sales execs is a different job. It's not the same job. Right? It requires a really different set of skills. And again, I think too often we imagine the person that's good at the thing is going to be good at managing people to do the thing. And that just isn't always true.
That's so true. That is so true. Listen, I understand you're a fellow of the Institute of Leadership and Management, so you clearly invest in your own education as a coach. What else do you do for continuous learning? You've got books there. Do you listen to podcasts? Who do you use as a mentor? You talked about a mentor before for yourself.
Well, I'm lucky to be surrounded by people that do what I do, and many of them do it way better than me. So I'm surrounded by colleagues that are coaches and have kind of informal coaching pretty much all the time. But in terms of my own development, just in fact, next week I'm going on a program called Where Did You Learn to Behave Like That? So and look, I run my own business. So this is my money I'm spending on myself because I believe this is the right thing to do. I'm investing in my own development by going and learning a new approach. And this is about getting into some of the early experiences in life that have driven some of the behaviors we've now got and unpicking some of that. So it wouldn't be for everybody, but it is for me. And it's me getting better at what I do. And I think that would be my kind of key point. Every single day, I wake up and I have the opportunity to be a bit better than I went to bed last night if I use this day really well to learn. And so I try to do that. It's not always easy and I often fail, but I try that every day. I try to constantly just get a little bit better at what it is I do. And I have to ask for feedback. So I really welcome feedback from you and from other people. Anyone that works with me will know that I like to know, what did I do that worked and I should do more of? And what could I do differently to make that even better? Because I want to keep doing the good stuff and I want to change so I can add some stuff and build my repertoire.
Wendy, I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I feel like we could go off on so many different tangents there, so many different things there. And I think it's good we've kept it just to leadership because it's personal goal setting and your own personal life and all of that. This is just about business. There's so many different things we could have done, but I've really enjoyed it. How do people find you? How do people reach out to you? Is it through the website? Is it through LinkedIn? How do people get hold of you, Wendy?
Yeah, either you can go to dramaticimprovement.co.uk or you can find me on LinkedIn. I have the benefit of an unusual name, Harbutt. So you can normally find me pretty easily on LinkedIn.
And if there's one thing you'd like to leave the listeners of this podcast, and bear in mind, this goes out to 5,000 to 6,000 people every Thursday, all in the motor trade. If you want to leave them with one thought, what would that one thought be, Wendy?
You can. You can. Yeah, whatever it is you're thinking, you can.
Perfect. Wendy, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Simon. It's been a delight.
That just leaves me to say that all details of this episode and other episodes on the selling in the motor trade can be found on our website, simcotraining.co.uk. Go there to get a copy of our book, Words That Sell Cars. Go there to sign up to a free trial of our Sales Fitness online sales training program. Easiest way to get hold of me is Simon Bowkett through LinkedIn. Thank you.